Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And good day to you all. Again, British and Australian accents for me are going to blend over and bleed. So good luck with
Good
all
day,
that.
champ.
Yeah, exactly. Fish and chips and all that. Anyways, hi, all you PC WrestlePod nerds, and welcome to another Grapple Gurus review, your PPV and PLE review show here on the BC WrestlePod networking, YouTube, Twitch universe, cinematic universe, whatever you want to call it. I know it's a mouthful, but it's our show, and we will do whatever we want with it. I am your lead host this evening, Mikey. We're in the ones and twos and leading this crazy group of folks tonight, as we are here to cover in AEW's All In 2024 from Wembley Stadium. I am joined tonight this evening, first and foremost, from Adolfo, the nerdy Puerto Rican with his amazing cat ears. So happy to have you here tonight. Yes, do the pageant wave, do the pageant wave. It's like wave, blow a
Hey,
kiss.
everybody. You gotta say it because the professor's not gonna be here. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I know Professor is busy with callbacks, so he's gonna be him and Andrew are gonna be busy theater folks over the next 2 or 3 months or so.
I expect videos from the field from them backstage talking wrestling underneath the bleachers somewhere.
That would be fantastic. Professor will be sending videos on and off for reviews, so this is gonna be fun. And then, of course, rounding us out for this evening as of right now is JVL. The originator, the man that started the 1.0 version of BC WrestlePod. Technically, this is his idea. I just took it and ran with it to create it what it is now.
ADHD is a wonderful thing. I can give you good ideas and run away.
That is fantastic. But we are here to review AEW's All In, probably AEW's biggest show on their current pay-per-view card throughout the year, even though this is only the second year they've done it. And my howdy, how they've changed how 2025 is going to look for a whole bunch of stuff. I'm surprised because most of the time we don't pay attention to 0 Hour, but they did a lot of announcements on 0 Hour. So I included some of those in here. But, speaking of 0 Hour, we are going to be talking about 0 Hour and the main card. But before we do, I just want to put this little graphic up here.
Respect.
Exactly. Just be respectful. I can't speak for my other two co-hosts, but I'm gonna do some really hot takes here. I'm gonna be very critical when it comes to certain parts, but it's gonna be. Let's be honest. Yeah, we're definitely gonna break that down as much as we can. So, with that being said, just be respectful in the comments, and then everything will be all copacetic. All right. All right, so let's begin. We're going to quickly go through 0 Hour. We're really only going to focus on the one match that was on our predictions form because the other two matches weren't made of, all that stuff. Yes, JVL. Point of order.
0 Hour was 2 hours. I'm getting sick of being lied to.
Really? You only got to tune in for, honestly, the last hour. That's where everything goes down.
Right.
If that.
That's where the actual wrestling happens.
For real, they lied to me. But I will say I did enjoy All In 0 Hour crew of Renee Paquette and RJ City.
Of course, they were wonderful to listen to. I love them so much.
They are fantastic, and they were the ones that were leading the scrum too afterwards, which was really, really nice. So let's begin with 0 Hour. There's only one match that was on our predictions form, and then they added 2 matches the day of. So we're just going to give our quick thoughts of the first match, which is a 16-man tag team.
This was a Royal Rumble. This was not a 16-man tag. This is a Royal Rumble.
Literally, this is all the folks who we can get to fly to Wembley that aren't on the main card. So let's put everything. So we have on... I don't know if I want to call them fully team heel, but we have Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, Anthony Ogogo, Arya Davari, the Dark Order, and Private Party taking on the poor Private Party. I feel they're more face than anything, but hey, you know what? They are at Wembley. They got to be on 0 Hour, and that whole team is taking on the team of what I call the faces, because you have Tommy Billington, Kip Sabian, Rocky Romero, Kyle Fletcher, Leo Rush, and Top Flight with Action Andretti in this match too.
The tightest flight attendant uniforms and pilot uniforms I have ever seen.
For reals. I mean, what can I even say? This was just 16 people being thrown around the ring for like 10 minutes.
This is their answer to the armbar.
God.
Yeah. There were some fun spots. Not gonna lie, there were some fun spots. I think it was just kind of that thing you just go out there and entertain the crowd, which for all intents and purposes they did.
They warmed them. They warmed them right up.
Yeah. I feel bad for Rocky Romero and Kyle Fletcher because on Friday they had to fly from Mexico City to London, England. And it wasn't an early flight either because they made it all the way to the end of the Grand Prix, but we'll talk about that in another show. And then
they go on first.
We'll also talk about the winner later.
And then they go on, and then they go on first. So props to them. But yeah, you know what? I had absolutely no problems with this match. It was fun. Everyone looked like they were having fun. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole Satnam Singh like picking up Leo Rush and then everyone like bum rushing him, and it was fun. Let the kids have fun, damn it.
Fun. We need some fun here.
Fun. Well, Team Face does pick up the victory here. I don't think we
British. More British people on it.
I don't think they'll ever do it, but I want to see more for Kip Sabian than throwing him on the 0 Hour. Last year, he was great as part of the commentary team for 0 Hour. And I was just like, I want more of that. Renee and Kip Sabian are actually really good as a team, too.
Could we have him make sure that Taz doesn't have to work Friday nights like he was threatening to do later on? Because that would be wonderful.
Listen, awesome. Kip being on... Put Kip and Daddy Magic Perfectly on Rampage. And, that'd be fantastic. Anyways, Team Face does win. I don't know if it was said before, but Tommy Billington has signed a full deal with AEW, so he's going to be here for the long haul.
I have never seen a person more unhappy to be walking out at Wembley Stadium, though. He just does, I don't know whether it was nerves or anything else. He just did not look like he wanted to be there.
He just got squashed. He had to lose to Jericho on Wednesday, so he was probably still miffed about that. We will get to
Where was Michael Oku? Where was Michael Oku?
Right. You have Michael. You have all of Rev Pro, and then you also have other federations in the UK. So, missed opportunities, but I don't know if there's like contracts or certain things, but whatever. Michael Oku would have been fantastic in the Gauntlet match or even in here, but who knows? We'll talk about the surprises we did get though in that Gauntlet match down the line, but we move on to our match that was actually on a predictions form.
And where was this?
And where my predictions, I immediately realized that All In was about to screw me over in Predictions League because we had Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii taking on Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. Winner gets to pick the stipulation at the match between Willow and Chris taking place at All Out, which is presumably for the CMLL Women's World Championship. So, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm tired of Chris being on the losing end of this whole entire feud. It's very one-sided. She has she did pick up the win against Willow to get said match, but every time Willow and Chris have gone up against each other since she's gone heel, Chris has been on the losing side, and it still makes no booking sense to me for her to lose here because then, since... spoiler alert, Willow and Ishii win this match. I'm really worried that they're going to take the title off of Willow at All Out.
They might.
What?
This is probably the way they're booking it, or they won't. But yeah, I can see that.
I just want more for Chris. But yeah, this match was about what I expected. Stokely and Ishii going at it was actually kind of funny to watch. But yeah, it was a thing. The action really picked up though when it was just Willow and Chris going at it. I was like, again, even though this match was stupid, I would have put this on the main card and swapped something else out. Seriously, why are Willow and Chris always relegated to 0 Hour? And if I find out that they get relegated to 0 Hour on All Out, I'm gonna throw a fit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but this match was better than the FTW match This you can take this match, put them in there, and that's because Willow and Chris are that good. I had no issues with the match. I mean, it was basically a Willow versus Chris with a little sprinkling of Tomohiro Ishii and Stokely in there. Props to Stokely. He was, taking some good hits and doing some good moves. So, and his ring gear when he came out was pretty dope. Go ahead, JV.
Selling him is hysterical. I loved him getting back every time it happened.
That was so funny.
Stokely is great for having those like comedic moments. He's just fantastic. He's just enough off the cuff to be hilarious, but not go into the crazy territory.
Yeah. For a mixed gender match where one of the wrestlers is technically not a wrestler anymore. I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I was entertained. So
yeah, I was entertained. I would agree with you, but there was a better mixed gender match earlier in the week from a different promotion, which we'll talk about off camera. But I'll just say, little Zaya Brookside, you were my MVP this week, taking on the big man that is Khan and Madman Fulton. Like, Lord have mercy. And she threw around Matt Cardona too, so it was pretty cool to watch.
But we're here. We're getting close to the end of 0 Hour.
Right.
Oh, really? So Willow wins. She gets to pick the stipulation for the match. So I'm worried that they're going to take the title off her. They wrote themselves in a lose-lose for me. Either Willow's losing this title or Chris is going to lose, and it's a lose-lose situation for me. I still think the match is going to be banging, but
I just want that to happen in Mexico City. If it is for the CMLL Women's Championship,
that's the stipulation. They're going to go to Arena Mexico and they're going to fight in Mexico. It's like, now going to Arena Mexico.
They're going to call it, you want a street fight or something like that just to get like things over.
That's no. Well, I mean, if they had it at the Guadalajara Arena, though, then I'd be down.
That would be cool. Yeah.
So really quick.
Anyway.
So we could talk more about that, but congratulations to Willow and Ishii. And at this point, I was like, well, freak. My predictions are about to be screwed the rest of the night. So then we get a couple announcements before we get our next match. Grand Slam is happening in Australia in 2025, which is crazy.
To protect Adam Cole's knee.
For reals. So, Arthur Ashe and Adam Cole are best friends right now. We also get the announcement, to remind us that All In is happening next year in Texas, July 12th. But we also get the last announcement that Forbidden Door is going to be in London next year in August.
That's cool.
Distinctly not in Wembley. We know that for a fact. They're going to shoot for a smaller stadium, but they're coming back to London.
There's
a
cool.
lot of great stadiums around the London area they can use. So that's fantastic, which then leads us into our final wrestling match of 0 Hour. This is what I call the collision/ROH feud that has been the last 2 weeks. We have Cage of Agony and Undisputed Kingdom taking on the team of Dustin Rhodes, Sammy Guevara, Katsuyori Shibata, and the Von Erichs. So
I thought the Von Erichs were allowed to leave Texas. Like, I thought that was a whole thing.
Apparently not. They're allowed to travel. So okay, so let me get the positives out of the way. This was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, except for when the Von Erichs got into there. I was like, y'all still got to work it better. But honestly, for me personally, Sammy was the MVP for the face team, as he should be, because, Von Erichs are still getting there, and Dustin is on his way out the door, and Shibata is Shibating all over the place.
How much was Shibata in this match? I forgot
he was in this match.
My brain paused in rendering because I remember seeing him kind of sort of at the end, but like nowhere else in the middle. A lot of Dustin, a lot of Sammy, but not a lot of not a lot of Shibata.
No, it almost like they were trying to save him for later in the night, which then they didn't do, which would have added to the FTW match slightly. I will say this was one of my favorite matches of the night for one specific reason. My partner, who does everything in their power not to watch any wrestling, and like, not that they don't like it, but just isn't their thing, watching Cage of Agony coming out with Swolverine and then Khan in his full regalia, and also they thought the costuming was amazing when they found out about the background of both the other wrestlers.
So good.
They thought that was so good, and they could represent that. They thought that was amazing. Then they turned away not to watch. So
the other always enjoyable part was Taven and Bennett. I mean, those two they know how to sell. They know how to lose.
They're fantastic wrestlers.
Like, they are. They're great entertainers. And yeah, this for what it was. This match was fun.
I'm pretty sure this replaced, because originally Sammy and Dustin were gonna have an open challenge for the ROH tag titles, but then they're like, never mind. I was like, how do you announce that on Collision and then change your mind? But card subject to change. This was entertaining as it was. So before we go into the final section, 4-0 hour, we do want to mention, the homie David in here.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this before we all got on. Rest in power, Psycho Sid Vicious, that passed away today. Legend in the wrestling business, meant a lot to a lot of people. Way before my time, but even us historians know his contributions to wrestling and as a whole.
He was more than just a couple of flubbed promos and a couple of other things. He definitely set a tone for a lot of folks, especially big men, when you weren't spoopy or didn't have a big gimmick. You were just a badass. That was Sid through and through. I will say, though, it's weird to hear him expressed as a wrestler for me. I always thought of him as softball legend Sid, because he was just, he loved to go play softball on the weekends and not be around folks.
So rest in power to him. So this was the last match, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll probably get like recaps of all the stuff happening. We got like 15 minutes left. And then all of a sudden I hear the Outcast music hit. And so Saraya with her whole entire family plus Harley comes out, and I was like, oh, is she actually getting? So I was let down because I was like, oh, is she actually gonna get a match? I'm like, finally. You know what? Say what you will about Saraya. I think she's fantastic, and I did want her.
That was the thing about the match. Like, you looked at how much time they had, and it was a woman coming out. There was no way in hell they were going to give her 10 minutes. So that was the sad part. That's why I went, eh.
I know, but Saraya gets
should have been in the spot where Jericho was.
Honestly, we could have had another women's match, even if it was for a couple of minutes. But Saraya comes out with her whole family and Harley. Saraya and Harley, Harley starts to get on the mic, then Saraya takes it from her and goes with it. Saraya is still not happy she's not on the card, and she's going to get her Wembley moment one way or another. And then the familiar music hits. The crowd goes nuts. I'm literally screaming in my car as I was watching this.
Top of the night.
Yes. Yes. Jamie Hayter is back. I love the coat. I love the ring gear. And she was squaring up for a fight. She literally took out everybody. And when I say everybody, I don't mean just Harley and Saraya. She took out all 15 people in that ring.
Zach Knight took a great bump off a lariat from her. It was awesome.
But I will say, now that we know everything that happened afterwards, JVL and I in the group chat were like, why is she here and not later in the evening? And then we come to find out, breaking news, apparently Britt and Jamie had a falling out in some capacity, so they're being kept away from each other for now. So makes a lot of sense.
I did want to just revisit that prior to that breaking news about Britt and Jamie. No. That's fine. But I feel, because I know that y'all were upset and we're like, well, why is this on? She should be in, on the main card, on the main show. I am on the other side of this. I feel that her number one, her spotlight was just on her, right? When she came out, she cleared out Saraya. It kind of sucks that Saraya was tossed aside in this situation. But, on the other hand, Saraya did have her moments and all that last year at All In, So this really was just the spotlight was on Jamie Hayter for everyone to see. Jamie Hayter, come in, Wreck House, and she is back, you know? And number two, you said it earlier, when she came in, her pop was unreal, right? Yeah, most people watching the PLE might have missed it, but those that are hardcore fans, you know, that watch through 0 Hour, which I feel is the majority of the people that are purchasing the PLE for AEW, you know, that they're gonna watch the whole thing. They too got to see that Jamie Hayter has come back. And number three, kind of going with that whole spotlight thing, we haven't like mixed her up in any other shenanigans. She had her moment by herself, which I feel was the best way to reintroduce her back in the fold, rather than what AEW has done. And like, oh, this person comes out and oh, look, they're mixed in with this whole other nonsense. And then they kind of like fall off. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at. I was very happy to see her, you know, back. And I was happy that she got her moment. So
100% agree with you. Aw, it must be. So here's where me and JVL are coming from, because Adolfo, how long have you been watching AEW as a whole product? Maybe about a year, less than that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's where me and JVL come from, because as the two of us have been here since the good old Cody Rhodes founding this federation days and everything like this. The reason initially in that moment we were like, how come Jamie didn't come out during Britt and Mercedes matches? Because prior to her getting injured, Britt and Jamie were a dynamic duo and a faction a year and a half ago. And then when she got hurt, that's kind of put Britt on her own. But now that we understand that along the way, within that span of time, the two of them have had a falling out, I am happy to see Jamie Hayter be on her own. It seems that she and Saraya are going to fight on Dynamite this Wednesday, which should be a really good match, in my opinion. I don't know. AEW will give them the time they deserve, but, you know.
Well, I think that they might protect Jamie a little bit too. She is 2 years out, so there could be ring rust. Give them a shorter. I could see a shorter time there is not a detriment at this point if it's building to something else.
Yeah.
I will say, to counter Adolfo, and this is not a judgment on how you looked at it, like in that respect. I see what you mean by it, and yes, she did get the spotlight fully on her. It was nice to have. And my problem, first off, is yes, Saraya got her moment last year. Was she on 0 Hour? Was she in a title feud? Because she came in without a title feud and still won the belt to get that moment on the main card. Jamie Hayter doesn't get the same treatment, also with Saraya there. But yet we still get Chris Jericho getting to play himself in and like suck the life out of everything else.
Fair.
The other part of it is that she came out and did that, and there was a quick changeover right to the entrance for this ladder match, which again was the focus of that. She was, if this had happened top of show, middle of it, like something like if that is 0 Hour, maybe she would have had time to enjoy it, but she was rushed out of the ring to then get set up for this next match. It seemed like, again, she wasn't given the room to go, and the pop was amazing, and they could have gotten that energy back in the middle of the show when we were later on in the main card when everything started to die, like near the Mercedes match. Again, you don't want her around that because of Britt Baker. It's hard. I assume that was the original plan, was to get her to come in to knock Camille off, and that wasn't going to happen because she can't work with her, which is tough. But the third part for me that gets me about this is that 0 Hour, while wonderful for the people there, I missed this because 0 Hour to me, as much as I'm paying attention, there's a thought that it's on YouTube. It's trying to get people to watch the PLE, but mostly you're right. It's people that have already bought it or just watching to see the other matches. They're not drawing new fans in. So if I miss Jamie Hayter's entrance, now I've got to go back and watch it on YouTube or anything else, which is great, but I'm missing parts of the other thing because I wasn't paying attention because it was 0 Hour and it was so quick that I had no idea what was happening. That angered me because I found out from a text from you guys that she was back. And that threw me off. So I had to go back and watch it. And like, that's my own thing that I had a problem with, but I'm probably not the only person that had tuned out 0 Hour at this point, because we were 18 minutes out. They're getting ready to jump into the main card. There's no way they're going to do anything else like that. So one, it's going to make me pay attention to this better, hopefully, but also a wasted thing, except that she got to be in front of her hometown fans. It's a double-edged sword for me. So I hurt for it because I'm a fan of hers, but I also get it. And they probably wasn't a good way to do it, which is tough. Don't know if that makes sense.
Nope, it makes sense, and I respect your opinion.
We love it. So that is going to take us out of 0 Hour, because now, boy howdy, buckle in, kids, because we have 9 matches on this main card, some good, some bad. We're going to be highs and lows this episode, because there was some good stuff, in my opinion, but there was also some very questionable and like really. Also, Hook, I need to know if there's a copyright infringement for what you had on your shorts, but we'll get there when we get there. So we begin and we open up the main card as JVL, described not too long ago, with our London ladder match for the AEW World Trios Championship. We have the Patriarchy defending their titles against the Bang Bang Gang, the House of Black, and added last minute into this match via collision in a last chance match, the oddly put together team of Pac and the BCC boys of Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta.
I give Wrestle Talk, specifically Lord Blake, the best for this. He coined the term, the Blackpool Death Club.
Yes. So let's put the elephant in the room here really quickly, because we talked a little bit about this in the group chat. With Pac's inclusion, there is wild speculation that
there's wild speculation that this was done.
This was supposed to be Death Triangle.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be Ray Phoenix, Penta, and Pac.
Yep.
And they were supposed to have won. Yes.
And it's somehow Penta and Phoenix, going out for themselves and having contract tampering just took them out of being an All In. I wonder why that could be. I don't know.
Who knows? But me and El Buntador talked about this on our CMLL review. Go check that out if you want to hear our full details about all that. And me and Professor also talked about it on WWE. So a bunch of places. This was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But on the same coin, I was like, why is House of Black always thrown together in these ladder matches? This was not the first time they were in a tag team fatal 4-way ladder match at Full Gear last year. I should know because I was there and I got to witness it. I was just like, really, what is happening?
Matches. Like, they're awesome, and they were one of the best teams in this match.
Yeah.
I just want them to finally win one, you guys. Like, it's not that hard. I was not expecting who won, though. That really threw my predictions for a loop. Yeah. And as soon as that result happened, I was like, well, shit. It's like, well, predictions, get ready, because you're about to get screwed over 10 times this whole entire pay-per-view. And by the end of it, none of us in our predictions walked out with the squeaky clean record we wanted to, except for Professor, which we'll get to at the end.
Kicked butt, but still.
But let's talk about this match. For me, this was a lot better than I thought it was going to. Christian hightailing it out of there at the very beginning, only to come back later to try to steal the victory, was great. There were some really fun moments. The Guns actually I was rooting for them at some capacity. I was like, they know what they do very well. They are fantastic. And, they kind of grown on me. I will say, I really did like that 310 to Yuma they hit. I was like, I think this is the cleanest one that you've hit. Oh my God, that was fantastic. And of course,
Juice getting revenge against that hellish Hellcat.
Oh yes, and then taking the weirdest bump on a table I've ever seen.
It didn't even break. Shout out to Mama Wayne for trying to climb the ladder in those heels too. I was just like,
right?
I was like, she is the champion after all, which is kind of crazy.
Yep.
Boys, what did we think of what opened the main card and the fact that Deathpool? How do we want to put this trio name of Pac and Blackpool again?
Blackpool Death Club.
Blackpool Death Club winning, and now Pac is a 2-time trios champion
with 2 different teams.
Lord have mercy.
JVL, go ahead.
This was, again, a nice energy boost to try to get folks as they jumped into it. Obviously, you want that kind of car crash mentality. It was messy. There was a lot of like shifting stuff around and like ladders in the wrong place or people landing really badly on a couple things. But yeah, Juice and Mother Wayne's back and forth were great. Nick Wayne doing the Wayne's World over the rope onto something else. Blackpool, both House of Black and Blackpool Death Club going at each other like rabid animals makes me want to see this next time. I want to see them continue this little feud by themselves because Pac has fought them multiple times and gotten blacklisted by, Malachi. So you never know. There could be stuff there. I just feel like, for a thrown together team, they seem to be doing all right. And they were hinting at something later in the night that didn't happen.
Yeah,
by having the two Blackpool Combat Club guys there without their third person. So
for reals, I will say though, I never get tired of seeing the black arrow from Pac. Anytime he hits that thing, I'm just like,
I know, it's so pretty.
Oh my god, it's so beautiful.
So
Adolfo?
Adolfo.
I mean, I agree with JVL. Was it pretty? No. When you get these types of matches, period, are they going to be pretty? In my life of watching wrestling, they're never the prettiest, but they sure are entertaining. And this was entertaining. Brought a lot of energy, a lot of great spots. All the teams I thought did a great job. My heart does break for the House of Black. Maybe face turn for House of Black, but we'll talk about that tomorrow night.
Were they heels? Who knows what they are?
Right. I thought it was very nice though that they came and shook Pac's hand at the end there. That was pretty cool. So, but yeah, no, this match was a good beginner match, got me primed, and I was like, yes, give me more.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll talk about it more tomorrow too, because Pac also has a match coming up in 2 weeks at All Out for the International Championship. And now that we know who our champion is walking out of Wembley, that has me even more stoked, which we'll talk about when we get there. So at this point, I was feeling great. 0 Hour was cool and everything. I actually enjoyed what I saw. This match was a lot of fun. And I'm like, all right, kids, let's see what's next. Like, we're probably going to give me the FTW. Maybe we'll have the tag team match. We'll have something. Okay, hang on. Before we start talking,
our reactions are not for the match. We're
not for the match.
Saying that now.
But the fact that they put this match second on the main card, but this was me when I saw what was coming up next after that London ladder match, and I'm just like,
you're one of two matches, and it's your actual women's heavyweight title, and you stuck it here because ostensibly it's a bigger match for bigger name draw than the other one that went up, and that was terrible. And this was amazing.
I'm going to just put it out there right now. I'm not waiting until... Yeah, I'm not going to wait until we get to the TBS Championship match. I'm going to say it now. They should have swapped those two matches, put the TBS here, and this should have been where the... Now, obviously, Tony and Mariah would have to fight after going up after Will and MJF, but I feel the crowd would have been more invested with these two than they did.
I'm just going to put Tony Storm's stuff all the way through.
Yeah. I'm going to say this right now. This was my match of the card. This was my match of the pay-per-view. And, leading into All In, unless something changes between now and the end of 2024, this is my favorite women's match of 2024 and the best feud period of 2024. My God, these two women killed it out here.
Did we had time. What happened afterwards?
Everything.
So Tony's walking out. Spoiler: Mariah ends up beating Tony in a very amazing fashion. Yeah. But Tony ends up walking out, crying and laughing at the same time, high-fiving fans. She, kayfabe, did not change, exited the arena in her gear, and just started wandering through London for the rest of the night.
So good.
She stayed in character and wandered the long way back to the hotel in her gear, full on blood, everything else. Girl, hold on to that. That's
commitment to the bit. Also, Luther crying too was a nice added touch at the very.
Yes, it was.
This match blew my expectations. This match delivered and then some. And the fact that that this whole match, no extra fluff. It was to the script. It was just chops and hip attacks all over.
Flying asses. Say it, Mikey. Flying asses.
Yes, the asses were flying.
There you go.
Unidentified flying asses.
Yes. And you know what? I give AEW credit for this one. They did the right thing and they pulled the trigger on Mariah being your next AEW Women's Champion. Like, I am so excited for this. She slapped her own mother.
I was going to say.
Like,
yeah,
I was like, I wonder what that conversation was like. Boys, this match was everything to me. This is my match of the pay-per-view, my favorite women's feud of 2024, and probably my favorite women's match of 2024, period, which might change by the end of it, so who knows. But what did we think of, outside of this being the second match and our gripes with that, how do we feel about both of these women delivering and then some?
So, I just want to add a caveat. If Alice joins us, I would like to revisit this because she had big feelings about this match.
100%.
Positive. They were all positive feelings, but she had big feelings about this match.
Even if it was negative, I'd love to hear it.
All right. Oh, cool. But this wasn't a wrestling match. This was cinema. Like not to be, not to be cheesy or anything, but this, wow. This was like watching an episode of like a dramatic show, and to me, it elevated professional wrestling to a spot that very few matches take it. And it's like, y'all, you see that up there? That's what you need to climb to. That's what you should aspire to. Both the characterizations for Timeless Toni Storm and Mariah May, you can go back and check all of our other reviews. I'm not going to retread, but they are fantastic. And yeah, it was great. It was great.
To echo what you said, you go back to all of our reviews. What is the highest rated matches on every card we've had in the last year? Anything to do with these folks involved.
Yep.
They knew how to tell a story. They also were pulling from such mythos, like All About Eve and all those wonderful places, and not just paying homage, but updating it for the medium. Yeah. Telling a story that we all know in a way that fits the medium, which a lot of wrestlers can't do, and they get stuck in that world of, how do I balance this? In a company built on work rate, this had the work rate, but also had the heart, and much more so than even the Fed has had in the last couple of years. Mariah winning was correct. I can't wait to see what the next chapter of this is, because there will be one. I think Tony's going to take some time away, but this isn't over. The new ingenue, the new hotness is taken over, and this is when her fall happens, because the minute that she becomes in the spotlight, everyone tears her down.
Yep.
Right.
And her old mentor has to come out of the woodwork.
Yeah. What I'm excited for is, I think we might potentially, and, predicting my booking hat, and I'll go into more detail about it tomorrow when we talk about where we think their story is going. I have a prediction, and I firmly believe, I think the next person Mariah should feud with is, she took down her mentor, but just like All About Eve, you need to be inherently selfish to get everything that you want. So mentoree is gone. The next step in that master plan to have everything you want is to get rid of your friends. I think Mina and Mariah will be feuding for a little bit, which would be kind of nice, but more detail to come tomorrow. Again,
can we say also fun cutting to Mina playing her part up in the stands?
Yes.
Who's sitting next to her but Rachel Ellering. And that was awesome for me. I'm like, oh, hi. I know you. You're awesome. Stay on ROH. I love you.
Hey, you know what? Mariah versus Rachel would be a fun match too. I'm not even gonna lie. Just give me something, because it's not over between Tony and Mariah. So I cannot wait. And again, this gave me, I was on an emotional high. I thought there's no way anything else. I was super excited. They won me back. The London ladder match was fun. This was great. And I was super excited. This match was pure cinema, and I was super excited because I wasn't paying attention to what, when they did the little preview. I was like, all right, All In, give me what's next. I'm ready for it. This is going to be fantastic.
Cry me a river.
Oh my God, why? Oh, they fucked it up so bad with where they put this.
Can I ask something?
Sure, why not?
I know that Jericho likes to consider himself a rock star, and that's why he get away with a lot of the stuff, and he's singing his new theme. Did Fozzy seem like they finally were done with his crap too, touring with him? Because they seemed either half in the bag or did not want to be there.
Well, they
work out like
they
this.
they did have a show before the night before. So if we're thinking about it that way, they might have just been exhausted, because also who knows, those guys might have had to have taken a red eye there. It's not like they're Metallica and they have their own jet and kind of go at their own at their own pace. They swim. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They had to play, sacrifice to the Delta gods to make sure that their flight left.
Everything in my head was like, they had a bunch of rehearsals earlier in the day getting set up, and Jericho was just a diva the whole time about like, this wasn't right, or this small thing wasn't right, or it wasn't coming off okay, and getting really, really in the weeds. And they were just like, dude, I'm done. I am so done with him today. This is a 10-second thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that could also be it, but enough of Fozzy.
Do we
can
have?
We just,
I don't.
Can we just skip?
So we got
Hook wins.
Yes, Hook wins.
Yay!
But right. I do want to say, Hook, you may or may not find yourself with a cease and desist. I'm like, is that the Carl Jr. star on your shorts? Like, what is that? I will say though, I thought it was a cool that they mixed Hook's theme with Taz's like heartbeat entrance too. I was like, as soon as that played, I was like, if this mofo do not win, like I am so done with All In right now.
With his dad delivering the worst Taz mission I've seen.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I would be remiss in saying that seeing the father come out to defend the son did do a little aw. But yeah, we're good. Hook's the FTW champ. Next.
Can I ask for the storytelling beats too? Why did it take him so long to take off the eye patch if he already knew it was fine?
Why JVL? I said move on, but you had to bring this up.
I can't leave that one alone. That in me, like everything in
the
me,
whole
is
hand. By the way, that eye tape was shaped in a hand, you guys. Like, what is this?
That didn't matter to me as much as the timing of it. Like, he was like 5 minutes into the match, and then he takes it off. There were croquet balls, there were like cricket balls on the ground,
and he did that whole I'm blind spot and swinging wildly. I'm like, yo,
no,
stop.
Oh, no,
we're done.
We
moved.
I thought it would have been so much more metal had he came in, right? And before they face off, then he takes off his Scully, then slowly rips the tape, balls it up, throws it in Jericho's face, and starts to beat Jericho. I would have been fine if they did that, but
or if they want to go the spooky route, they put him with the white contact.
Yes,
seriously.
Yeah, right. There was move it.
Why was this not on 0 Hour? Why was this not on 0 Hour?
Honestly, I would have rather seen the mixed tag here in this. I thought it would have been fun.
I would have rather seen Big Bill, who was over with the crowd,
right,
turn on Jericho and have a good time.
I was since we're here. We're here. I want to see FTW. I want to see Hook versus Large William. I want to see that. I want to see that play out.
Retire the FTW championship and just start from where he was, which was the guy that didn't talk. He was mysterious, and he came in to beat people up.
And he also ate chips. Eating chips. Alrighty.
I'm eating chips.
Yes.
All right, sorry. All right.
Well,
Go.
I wanna throw the other thing in the group text. I think you guys agree with me. Would it be funny to have Killosaurus and Large William, when they finally turn on their daddies, to be a tag team to take on their daddies who were a tag team back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yes. That would be hilarious. Hilarious.
But we're going to move on from this. This did not need to be discussed. Which then leads us, man, the FTW championship left a bad taste in my mouth. And honestly, so this is where, wait, hang on. Let me just do this real quick. Alrighty. So now that we've, I'm going to take
the mustache beat that like Wrestle Talk does because of the amazing Sgt. Pepper mustaches that the Young Bucks had.
I will say I like the entrance gear from the Bucks. I pop for really creative stuff like that. That was so fantastic, and being a heel about it. Can I be honest, you guys? This should have been on a Dynamite. This did not need to be on this card. Now, had it just been the Bucks versus the Acclaim, then I would have said different things about this. But not to say the match was bad, but this did not give me pay-per-view vibes. This gave me like Dynamite main event, Collision main event. And it's because I've had issue with how we got to this point by literally inserting FTR just because we can. And I love Dax and Cash, but Lord have mercy, nobody added anything. I am happy. I was afraid, but I am happy that the Acclaim did not get pinned in this match. So there might still be hope for us there, but Lord have mercy. This was okay for me. I wanted more and it was fine.
The person in the cat ears from New Jersey, yes.
Yes, indeed. Quite. What if this match and the trios ladder match flip-flopped on the card?
This is the opener.
I mean, I think I probably would have liked it. Get this out of the way because, well, okay. So
because I mean, if I not because as a wrestling match, this was a great wrestling match. I'm gonna call a spade. These three tag teams, they know how to work and they do it well. All right. There was a lot of energy. There was a lot of great spots. I see what you mean though. This deep in the card, especially after that slog of a whatever we just saw, right? It felt out of place. I think had it flip flop with the trios with the London ladder match, it might sit a little better in the craw, as it were.
Right. So here's my biggest issue with this, and I'm actually going to pull up All In from 2023 in this matter too. The difference between that tag team championship match and this tag team championship match is the addition of the Claim. We literally saw FTR and the Bucks go at it for these titles last year at Wembley. So I'm just like, we literally just got a rerun, just throw in the Acclaimed here into it to make it a triple threat. But I'm like, Lord have mercy, AEW, there are more tag teams in your division than the Bucks and FTR.
There are.
And nobody, and thankfully the Acclaimed has gotten themselves over with the crowd, but you literally have other tag teams like Private Party, Top Flight.
They're on 0 hour.
I know, Top Flight. Remember when the AEW tag team roster was deep? You had Jurassic Express, you had SoCal, you had the team of Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, like towards like year 2, year 3 of this tag team division. You had the Lucha Bros. It just frustrates me because the tag team divisions in the last year and a half or two, it's always centered around FTR and the Young Bucks. And it's only because the Acclaimed has gotten over with the crowd organically and by themselves that no other tag team has been given a chance to shine where they can. Lord have mercy.
That might be changing though by the end of this match though, as we actually got a surprise.
Right. Okay. So let's just talk about that. So no surprise to nobody. Young Bucks win by pinning FTR. So hopefully the Acclaim will get another chance down the line.
And at least FTR took that pin. Let's just at least they took that pin.
Thankfully, because I was afraid the Acclaim. I was like, once again, your athletes of color always taking the pin. Right. But as the Young Bucks are celebrating in the ring and FTR is crying in the corner, the Acclaim get the hell out of Dodge with Daddy Ass because they realize S is about to go down. And we have, showing up just because, and they feel like it, and we're on home turf. Grit your teeth. The grizzled young vets make their presence known.
Young veterans.
I love them so fucking much. Anyways, they have a stare down with the Bucks before proceeding to go kick the asses of FTR. And it seems we're going to get FTR versus GYV. And I just melted in my seat. I was like, okay, the match was okay, but now you're teasing something awesome and I'm here for it. All out. There we go.
It took me a minute to process everything because when everything happened, I initially thought that the Bucks had hired the grizzled young vets to come and beat on FTR. But then after they made their statement, if you will, and then went to the rope and were yelling at the Bucks as they were exiting, I was like, okay. It's going to be interesting.
Anybody who's been following BC Wrestle Pod for the last year knows that GYV is mine and a couple other folks is like at the top of the tag team division. And specifically me and Andrew like have them as our favorite tag team in professional wrestling right now.
Tony, give Zach Gibson a mic for 10 minutes tomorrow.
Oh my God. The promos
are
going to be so good. Again, I'm going to be melting in my chair. When it comes to promos, there is no better promo skills than GYV. Honestly, they have the best promos as a tag team in any company, in my opinion.
Even when their mouths were taped shut in NXT.
Oh, absolutely. But again, the match itself was fun. It was okay. GYV being here makes me excited. Hopefully, FTR and them have a banger match if it ends up getting set up for All Out. But Bucks retain. Hopefully Acclaim come back after it. So that was that match. Okay, then we get the palate cleanser. And I cannot believe I'm going to say this. Outside of Mariah and Tony, this was my number 2 match of the evening.
We knew this was going to be good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so hang on. I have the full list in my notebook. So we're going to go through all the names a little bit in order and just talk about some brief interactions that we have.
They did list that at the end of this match, All In had put more wrestlers on the card than the Royal Rumble, and they had 2 30-person matches on that card.
For reals, which is kind of nuts. So we have the Casino Gauntlet match next. So they clarified this during 0 Hour and reiterated before the first 2 entrants happened here that originally it was worded that they get a future championship shot, but the winner gets a kind of basically a money in the briefcase situation where they can cash in that match anytime, anywhere. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, again, I did not see the winner coming the way that it did because I was like, oh, Hangers is in here. So, we'll get back to this, but joining us now, because I do want to give her a chance to talk about the amazingness that was earlier, but Alice is in the house. Hi, Alice.
I'm here. Hello.
Do we want to do this now or do we want to jump back to what we said we wanted to do before?
Let's jump back and then we'll jump forward. So let's start with some good. So let me get back to this real quick. So Alice, tell us why this was cinema. Just kidding.
Which part? And also, yes. Yes, there it is. I see it on my screen. It was absolute cinema. I was deeply moved. Wow. Oh my gosh, I loved this. I was angry about the spot it was in the. I think it should have been in a different spot. I think Mercedes and this spot, they should have been switched.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. So I did think this match was a little slow to begin with, and I was kind of getting frustrated with it. And then other things started to happen and I could see the story they were telling, right? The real struggle that the internal struggle, right? That Tony Storm was going through of like this, I loved you. Like you were my protege. We went through all this stuff together. And then, with Mariah May slapping her mother What a incredible heel move. And then watching Toni Storm going over to Mariah May's mom and giving her a hug, being like I've been you, right? Like, I know this. I've felt that betrayal, right? Like, this is the child that you loved. You came to see her and support her, and she came over here and smacked you in the face. And that's literally what she did to me.
She broke my heart.
She broke my heart. But yeah, this match was cinema. I almost cried. Like, I was so deeply invested in this story. When Tony's there, she's got the shoe, and the expressions on her face, the storytelling of, like, you know, and like Aubrey, the ref, like, don't do it, Tony, don't do it. And like, and Luther, right? Don't do it. And the, you know, and just the you could see the internal struggle, right? And that's when I was like, oh my God, Mariah. I'm like, oh, Tony, stop it, right? And then she ultimately decides not to go through with the shoe. And that's how Mariah May completes the takeover, right? Like, she uses the Storm Zero for the finish to become her version of the tough, timeless Toni Storm. So really, yeah. Oh my God. And did you see this sign? Kayfabe is real and she is timeless.
That was so good in the background there.
I loved that sign. I loved that sign.
Oh my goodness, Alice. I was telling the boys here that this was my favorite match of the entire evening.
Hands down.
Because, hands down, this is probably my favorite feud of 2024, unless something changes. And I put my reputation on the line because this is my favorite. This is probably going to end up being my number one women's match of 2024 when we review at the end of the year. So
easy.
Oh my goodness. So Alice, I want to get one more match, your thoughts. So we went from the highest of highs. Now I want you to eviscerate this one for us, please.
This was tame. This was garbage. The best part of this match was the cricket bat that said, "Hi guys," and he was literally strangling Chris Jericho with his own words. That was poetry. Everything else was garbage.
Cool. And then finally, before we get to the match we're currently talking about, how did you feel about this one?
Every time the Young Bucks were not in the ring, and FTR and the Acclaimed were going at each other, I was yelling at the screen, "We already saw this match. We already saw this match. I don't need to see any more of this." Right? We literally saw this match. I was talking to Adolfo about this because we don't see the Young Bucks a lot. They don't show up on Collision or Rampage. So I have not seen them wrestle. I've seen their personas. I've seen some clips. You know, I follow the Instagram pretty closely, so I see all their social media stuff. And their personas irk me, and I hate their personas. Like, I can't stand the EVPs. But I've hardly ever seen them wrestle, and I was angry at how good they are at wrestling. I was so mad at that because, like, I feel like they deserve the championship. Like, they have the charisma, they have the gimmick to deserve a championship. They're just doing their job so well that I hate them as heels. I'm supposed to. They're supposed to make me feel gross and angry every time they show up on the screen. And they're doing a great job. And I was so mad. I was like, I wanted them to be terrible and I wanted the Acclaim to take it, you know? And they show up and they're wrestling. I'm like, damn it. They're really good at wrestling.
They really are. And that's never a contention, but I just wish it was just Acclaimed and FTR, not FTR, Acclaimed and Young Bucks, and I would have been okay with it.
That was my biggest gripe. I didn't want FTR to be there at all. I think FTR did end up taking the pin.
They did. Mm-hmm.
So can we call this the end of FTR versus the Young Bucks? And just stop shaking your head, JBL.
They're gonna probably bring it back in some capacity. But Alice, Adolfo does have a question for this conversation. So Adolfo, what would you like to say? You have the floor.
Someone ask Alice what she thought about Hook's eye patch.
All right, Alice. Adolfo just set us all up.
Let me timing this of this already, how bad it was anyway. So go for it.
Go for it.
I missed my opportunity, but yeah, what eye patch? He came walking out, and I was like, "What is that? If you have an actual eye injury, that's not what that looks like. This is tape over your eye. There's no eye injury. There's never been an eye injury. This is such garbage." And then I wasn't even watching the match really with the FTW. Like, oh no, the cricket balls. Wow. This is what an FTW match. Wow. Then Adolfo goes, "He tore the eye patch off." And I went, "What eye patch?" Because it was what, tape? The gaffing tape over his eye, sports tape, whatever it was.
Oh my god.
What eye patch?
For reals. Alrighty. That was, I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot of fun. But Alice, thank you for your thoughts. So now you are here to join us for the second half of this review, in which there were still a lot of ups and downs. So let's get back to what we were talking about before HR made her presence known into the chat.
Joining us. I felt unsafe this entire time. I'm so glad you're here.
It was Adolfo's fault.
It usually
it wasn't Adolfo's
Anyways, so let's talk about this. So again, like a Money in the Bank situation, winner gets to cash in a championship match whenever, wherever, not infringing upon Orange Cassidy's like stuff or whatever. But speaking of Orange Cassidy, Orange kicks us off in the number 1 spot of this match, and he gets a whole Mr. Bean entrance, and I died. I was laughing so hard. I'm like, of course, we're in London. Mr. Bean is a cultural reference that everyone gets across the border, and he did the things, and it was hilarious. And then I'm like, all right, so we got about 5 minutes until number 3 gets in. So who is about to face Orange? And then the Rainmaker comes in, and I'm just like, oh God, here we go. It's about to... From the moment those two stepped in and started at number 1 and 2, I'm like, oh, this match is about to be a whole lot of fun. And some chaos is going to happen too. But speaking of chaos, it was really fun to watch 2 former members of Chaos fight each other. I wish I put it in here, but I love the hug and then Okada looking at the camera with evil intent. Like at the beginning of this match, this was mwah. And of course, these two always have great chemistry together. I'm like, where's this Okada? I want this Okada as my champion and not off of television. Like, look, I love the whole bitch gimmick that he's doing, but wrestler Okada is what I know, and I want the Rainmaker, not the EVP's lackey. But the first 2 was great. So, I mean, any quick thoughts here? Because then it just got wild with number 3. I'm just going to put it out there.
I would just go through all the entrants, and then we can like
talk about the whole
backpedal
thing.
and talk about like
Okay.
We don't have to,
All right, so Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada 1 and 2. Number 3 just then throws everything out the window for me, and I'm like, what the flip is happening? Because number 3 is the in-ring return of Nigel McGuinness, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's about to be that kind of match.
Yeah, Oasis blaring. He's coming down looking in fantastic shape.
I was I have missed Nigel McGuinness, and honestly, he was one of the highlights for me in this match. Then number 4 comes in, and I want an actual match between Nigel and number 4, which is Kyle O'Reilly, because Lord have mercy, I'm like, yes, that little sequence they both had was fantastic. But then it just gets bonkers, because then number 5, you have the G1 Climax winner of this year and the leader of TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr., just strut his stuff down to the ring.
the greatest technical wrestler alive.
Nigel
I will
McGuinness
die on that hill.
And now he's going to fight the actual greatest technical wrestler alive later on for the title.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be fantastic. Zack Sabre Jr. ends up walking in here, and then it just keeps getting crazier because then Roddy Strong comes out. Roddy, Kyle, Zack, and Nigel. I need a fatal 4-way between those 4. Like, let's go.
Did anyone see Kyle take the bullet for Roddy during that part of the match? They're setting up more Undisputed Era.
Yeah. Yep.
I was about to say, I saw that. I was like, we're teasing it. And I mean, we saw it too because Kyle was extremely angry. He lost to get the number 1 position to Orange. So it's coming. It's coming very soon.
Thing, again, we're talking about this as we're going along. This style of match, we've seen 3 of them in the last couple of months. And yet they still continue to get better about setting up little feuds and little things they're doing than any of the Royal Rumbles, which is the other big gimmick match you would compare it to, has in the last couple of years under Papa H. I love this style. This is ridiculously good at getting stuff over.
After Roddy enters the ring, then we get our ROH World Champion, Mark Briscoe, the Kung Fu Master of Chicken Kung Fu. There was a moment where I thought the chair gave out on him when he was doing certain things, but thank God he cleared it and people caught him in time. I was like, great, another ROH champ get injured. We love to see that.
He pulled a full set.
And, then a couple minutes passes by, everyone's getting their spots in, but then all hell breaks loose because we have an angry hangers come in. Hangman Adam Page just wrecks house upon entering the ring, destroying everyone. He don't care who it is. If it is friend or foe, your mama, your auntie, like your child.
Give me Hangman Okada.
I think that's the feud we're getting because they were teasing that a whole lot during this match, Okada and Hangman. And so Hangman going after, the Continental Championship at some point. I'm here for it. But then it gets even crazier because we had Jeff Jarrett walking in, who actually does pretty good. I was like, I don't hate you, Jeff Jarrett, in this match. You did what you were supposed to. But then we knew it was coming. I knew it was happening. I still cried like a little baby when I saw it, but we have Ricochet, and he got to keep his whole entire name from the other federation in here. And then he just displayed, I was like, this is what I want to see from this man every single time we get in here. It is Prince Puma from Lucha Underground. Ricochet just comes in, clears house, just does all the flips. Him and Roddy probably had my favorite interaction. I want a match between those two because there's a lot of history on the independents there. And then Christian Cage's music hits. I was like, Plan B is here, you guys. He's lost titles. So remember when the Young Bucks promised Christian that, they owed him a favor for everything that he did by taking out Buddy Matthews? I think this was it. They put him in this match for that reason. And again, Christian doing Christian things. Alice sent in our group chat the picture, the sheer terror of Christian's face with Ricochet just immediately throwing himself onto Christian upon his entrance. I hope Christian's not hurt because that man was struggling to run down that ring. I was like, oh no. Oh, Christian, we know you're old. At least you were smarter than your friend and not jumped off cages in high places and broke a tibia down the way. But anyways, then Luchasaurus comes in, not Kill Switch. Luchasaurus's music hits, and it's the Luchasaurus graphic. And we were teasing. He threw Christian onto people. I was like, oh my gosh, it's about to happen. And then we got the fake out because Luchasaurus carries Christian to get the pin. The winner of this Casino Gauntlet match and a guaranteed AEW World Championship shot whenever, wherever, goes to, the father of all fathers, Christian Cage. This match ruled, you guys. I had no expectations. I didn't know what was going to happen. This match was a lot better than a good chunk of the first half of this pay-per-view. I'm not even going to lie.
I dissent.
Okay. Tell me how I'm wrong.
No. The match
jump backpedal now.
Well, no. Take it easy, okay? Take it easy.
Cálmate.
If you don't like me, fight me. Let's go.
No. So, yes, you're right. This match was a really fun match, and I was enjoying it so much. But that ending, for me, was just terrible. Terrible.
Took the wind right out of my sails.
Yep. It felt like a big letdown. Dare I say, I felt blue balled. Thank you very much.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I'm with Adolfo on this. I fully am. It was a built, and then it was like you teased us again farther than we need to go after a year. Just no.
I got so excited. Right?
I thought Hangman was gonna win.
He was Luchasaurus. He had, he had Christian Cage by the neck. I was like, it's happening. It's happening. No.
So, okay. So here's where I stand on this, right? Before I let JVL. Actually, JVL, you go ahead, and then I will give my final thoughts.
It just did. It couldn't stick the landing with what they wanted to do with it, and I see why they kind of did it with Christian's character after what they did in the earlier match, but just it doesn't set it up for a lot. And then, I'm sitting there wanting like all these returns, and I'm like, I know he's not cleared, but this is the perfect time for Adam Copeland to show up and spoil it for Christian, and he didn't because he couldn't. Like this. Why did you do this now? Are you saving this for later?
So this also rings up the question too, because I'm gonna be honest, I was thinking that Hangman was gonna win this because I was like, okay, Hangman is either going to go after whoever wins this championship, or he might go after Okada. Like either way, I would have been cool with. I agree that Christian is a weird choice, especially when I'm trying to figure out like. I guess there's some connection there because since Darby is our other number one contender for that AEW World Championship, there is, I guess, kind of history because Darby and Christian main evented Wrestle Dream last year with that 2 out of 3 falls match, which saw Nick Wayne turning on Darby and officially joining the patriarchy. So I don't know if Christian will want to spoil Darby's match, or the fact that maybe Darby wins it at some point between now and Wrestle Dream, and then Christian like takes advantage, and then we get Christian versus Darby 2, which could be interesting. But yeah, Christian's a weird choice, and trying to plot points everywhere I thought it was going to be Hangman. I still stand by the fact that this match was a pretty fun, except the ending kind of was like bizarre. But again, maybe Christian will be like, I'm going to cash this in at All Out in 2 weeks, and we'll see where that goes. Because Danielson is probably going to have 1 or 2 defenses before dropping that thing at Wrestle Dream.
Just the way that this Casino Gauntlet match played out, I would have been much better sated had Christian Cage come out earlier and then did some Christian Cage shenanigans of like hiding under the ring or like, sneaking in and sitting in the audience or something like that. And then like at the last minute, like jumping up and getting a 1-2-3 pin. I feel for me, that would have sat better in my craw. The way it happened though, it was just like JVL and Al said, it just like the wind out of the sail, and it was just like, bleh.
Bleh.
I did love the style. I did love the gauntlet match style. I loved that you didn't know when the next person was going to come out. It was different times, random times. So sometimes it was like a solid 5-7 minutes before the next person came out. And then sometimes it was like 30 seconds. I loved that. I loved not knowing. I was like, who's going to come out next? Right. That was really interesting. I did like the style match. I thought it was really fun. And I think this is very successful. I want them to do another one of these. I just was so disappointed by the end.
Right. And I will echo what JVL said too, because this is like the 3rd one we've had this year of this style of match. We had one to see who would face for the international championship at Dynasty or somewhere like earlier in the spring. Yeah. Which was fantastic because that's the one that Will Ospreay won. And then that match, ended up being baller for the international championship. I want them to continue to do gauntlet matches for sure.
This is also the longest one they've had. Like they've had a couple where like the first one was medium size. Like you got about like 7 or 8 participants. It was pretty good. The more recent one they had was like, you got 5 and all of a sudden it was over. It was like, whoa, and the person was coming down the ramp. They didn't like, and that built the suspense of this can end at any time. And then you have this giant one on a big pay-per-view, which is awesome. You're getting everybody else on the card. It's what you want. I want the next gauntlet match to be 3 people.
Honestly, that'd be fantastic.
You cutting backstage and you see some people waiting for their turn or they're going to come out.
Like,
yeah. I think that would really build like anticipation for it and really make it exciting for the viewers.
Yeah.
Right. Once you've set that sort of precedent that it can be up to like 10 to 15 people or 3. You never know.
You never know.
Right. You know what would have been funny too, now that I'm thinking about it, had Saraya not been on 0 Hour, this Jamie Hayter just comes in and starts wrecking house for a little bit and just pushing people out the way. And then Saraya comes out and then they start fighting to the back. When this gets solidified enough, I would love to see a women's casino gauntlet match. Like that would be fantastic. I mean, you literally have a whole bunch of women's on the roster who don't get used. So why not use all of them? And probably it'll end up being better than the men's, just putting it out there.
It will be. But also, this one, if that had happened, you had to have a spot where it was stereo lariats from Jamie Hayter and Okada, Rainmaker and Gatorade.
Yes. I mean, technically, we know that Hayter has studied a bit of Okada's playbook, so it would be fantastic. I know week ending, but this ended up being a really fun match. And then, Jesus Christ, you guys, holy crap.
Before this, we got a full 5-minute promo for the Assassin's Creed game.
I was leading into it. Oh my God. I don't care what nobody says. That entrance was crazy fun. Though it was a promo for the video game for Assassin's Creed coming out in November. But hey, I like the Edo period. I love me some good Samurai Ninja action. It's fantastic. This is the coolest ring gear I have seen Will Ospreay wear ever. And the fact that Will is an ambassador for Assassin's Creed now is great because JBL, lest we forget, remember, what was it, Wrestle Kingdom last year? He came out as Assassin's Creed 2. It was amazing. Yes.
Can I ask this question of the group? And for those of you that remember this match, do you feel like AEW is doing its tie-ins with corporate things better than, say, the father-son blood match that we had over Cinnamon Toast Crunch at WrestleMania?
Yes. I feel that the tie-in matches are being done a lot better than AEW. It also might be because I feel like AEW isn't so hamstrung in who they have associations with, because like you're not going to be seeing a Ubisoft game over at WWE. I'm just gonna say it. You're not going to be seeing any Ubisoft promotions over at WWE because WWE, they have their own video game thing and video game associations, and they have to push that, so you're not going to be seeing those tie-ins, and also with with Vincie Macaroni and his regime, he wanted to try to keep it all family friendly, so you had your Cinnamon Toast Crunch and your Slim Jim and whatnot, which I'm sure, because Vince is a whatever, he signed like these lifelong deals, right? Which now the WWE is like hamstrung to, whereas AEW is just like, cool, Ubisoft, new Assassin's Creed, Will Ospreay, you're a big fan of the game, boom, done.
Yeah, as opposed to putting the logo of a known conspirator and con artist in your ring at all times, who's also a horrible, anti-trans advocate. But that's beside the point,
That's besides the point, because let's talk about this match, because this actually was highly entertaining for me. Again, Will Ospreay entrance is probably my favorite thing outside of his Wrestle Kingdom entrance when he did something similar. I love the parkour they incorporated, because there's a big parkour scene in the UK, which was fantastic to watch. I love that it was led by their female leader as well, which is really fantastic. And then the camp officially happened with MJF's entrance. This was the most gaudy Americanized entrance, and I hated it, but I loved it at the same time. It was so stupid.
I needed, and I know they have the money for this. I needed MJF to come out to Living in America.
Oh my!
Like Rocky IV.
Literally, if we could have the final countdown later in the evening, Tony Khan can afford Living in America for sure.
Destroying everything else.
Oh my gosh! But
also he did that, and then he's dressed like Lex Luger during the show, which was like, God. Alice
is like, yep. Oh my! So the entrances were fun. the match itself, oh my god. I was like, I highly enjoyed this, and I figure I was going to. It's Will Ospreay and MJF. However, I will say I feel like it was a little long for my taste. There was a bit in the middle. We could have condensed it like 5 minutes or so. But the fact that not only did Will Ospreay get the Tiger Driver in as his finisher to win, but the whole setup, we had MJF try to cheat, but who should come back to stop MJF from cheating as one does? But we have Daniel Garcia show up with probably my favorite mask reveal in 2024 because he did the slow thing correctly where most people fail. Daniel Garcia stops MJF for cheating, which allows Will Ospreay to hit the Tiger Driver 91 and pick up the win. And the fun thing is technically Ospreay won the American Championship, but he doesn't want that. And Christopher Daniels rolls into the ring and hands Will the true title that is meant to be what this company stands for. And Will is your AEW International Champion once more. And this was a fantastic match. I will talk about the discourse that the internet is all over after everyone's get their thoughts, but Adolfo, you go first. How do you feel about this match?
Well, what's the internet discourse? Because that I'm not really hip on the internet, so I might be repeating what them skippity doo kids are saying. So what's
So I will condense it for everyone here. This is mostly coming from internet fans who feel are loyal to certain companies or whatever. You know, the worst of it, and this is the crux of the argument, is since coming to AEW, there have been a lot of fans that have criticized Will Ospreay, and they're comparing him to one Hulk Hogan in the fact that he doesn't put anyone over. And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? I was like, did we not remember Forbidden Door? He put Swerve over. Like, what are we talking about? And the fact that people say Will doesn't sell for people either, I'm like, get the flip out of here. I'm like, what are we talking about?
They must not be watching the same person.
No. Mm-mm.
So I understand. Will Ospreay might be everyone's cup of tea, and that's totally okay. You can like who you like. But I'm wondering if Will went to another certain company, if people would have this issue or not. People didn't have this problem when he was in New Japan, so now that he's in AEW, now we suddenly have a problem with it. So that's the crux of the argument, that Will doesn't sell for anyone, and I just think that's complete poppycock since, you know, as we are in the London talking about a London pay-per-view or whatever.
I don't think he's a fantastic seller, but I think he does sell.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was talking about.
Thank you, Alice. That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm like, I agree with you.
Like Matt Taven, fantastic seller. Oh my God. Every time he gets I'm like, yes. Oh wow, fantastic seller. Ospreay, he could sell. It's just not fantastic. That doesn't mean he's not putting somebody over. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
right. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to get at.
He sells as good as LA Knight.
That is also very fair. Yeah.
I'm gonna shoot. This is the hill I'm gonna die on. Come at me. Anyway, so my question to everyone is, since Corporate Daniels did give the international championship to Will Ospreay, do we think that MJF he's gonna like continue this delusional fetid dream and like hold on
let the cringe era die. Let it die.
The American Championship.
The American Championship and act like it's a thing.
So I'll do you one better. I think the American, because we saw on social media Taz and Hook say that maybe it's time to retire this thing. The American Championship becomes the new FTW Championship, and Hook becomes the American champion that we all want to see and love. Literally, his name is Hook. I didn't say it was a good idea. It's just an idea.
I don't like it.
So
I don't like it, Mikey.
We'll delve into that tomorrow night.
Yes.
But as for the match, I agree with Mikey. Could have been a little bit shorter. Alice actually has another good point of contention. with Will Ospreay. I'm gonna let her bring it up.
You got to set her up. There could be a myriad of things.
What did I say?
Oh no!
How it'd be nice if Will Ospreay would stop the whole.
Oh yeah, I did talk about that a little bit.
So I'll let you talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
So it was kind of harped on a little bit with the Tiger Driver 91, but in the middle of the match, and I don't know if this was intentional or not. It's hard, right? Kayfabe, the line of kayfabe is like so minuscule, but he hits a cameraman with the flying elbow or whatever the word is, and he's like, "Oh my god, I hit another person." It's like, my man, you're upsetting me, and the camera.
Well, but also the cameraman had the best like socks and underwear on at that day. Like,
Right,
Oh, yeah.
Very good, excellent choices. But like, can we stop having Will Ospreay have these moments where he's clutching his pearls over like obvious issues, obvious perils of the job, right? Like, you are jumping around, throwing yourself places. You are going to accidentally or on purpose or kayfabe hit somebody you don't mean to. So the kind of like, again, right? It's not landing for me. That's not cinema. Take an acting class. Sorry. Yeah, it's not landing for me. It's feeling overused at this point, especially because we were so pushing on the Tiger Driver 91 and how heartbroken he was over the effect that had on Bryan Danielson. So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
It also felt like that whole moment pulled away from the match, and the flow of the match was interrupted. So it kind of like dimmed my enjoyment.
There we go.
That's it.
JVL, any final thoughts on this match as a whole?
This is pretty well covered. I don't think I have to go into any deeper thought. I agree both with Adolfo and Alice on this. So
that is fair.
I do want to say one more thing.
No, go for it.
Go for it.
In terms of intros for this pay-per-view, we're all over the place. We're all over the place. I would like us to make a consistent decision, right? Like, have somebody carried in on a golden palanquin for every single one, or have everybody walk in, right? Like, have everybody have this big dramatic, if you're gonna have this big dramatic intro, right? Like, Will Ospreay had his special thing with Ubisoft. That was something that they worked out. That's fine. MJF had his entry also, like fireworks, confetti, American gaudy, whatever. Sure. Great. But then allow all the other wrestlers to do that, with the exception of the gauntlet match, right? Because that has to be kind of fast paced. This had more fanfare than the actual main event. And I take issue with that. That's all.
No, that is very fair. So our consensus is we had some critiques with this match, but this was fun. I cannot believe that they the fact I was not on my bingo card. I did not think Will Ospreay had a chance of winning this thing, because here I thought, oh, they're going to let MJF win. This was a quick turnaround. So we're probably getting MJF and Daniel Garcia next. We'll talk more about that in detail tomorrow. So I was like, all right, I had some critiques with this match, but I enjoyed it. I love that we have the International Championship. And I will say, outside of Orange Cassidy, Will Ospreay is up there because he would put it against anybody and everybody, just like Orange did during his title reign. I'm like, all right, All In, what's next? So before we get started, I'm just going to put this here real quick. And then I'm also going to put this here real quick, because this is where a lot of the discourse is going to happen this episode. All right, so let me do the preamble real quick. So this is for the TBS Championship And we have our champion, Mercedes Moné, taking on
Secondary title. The secondary women's title.
Yes, so we'll talk about everything wrong with this match, but we have Mercedes defending her title against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. So Britt gets a regular entrance. Love her. She's fantastic. I love me some Britt Baker. Mercedes gets the whole Queen of England entrance with the carriage and all her corgis inside, like Mercedes' corgis.
And this is my point, right? She comes in with a golden chariot, right? She gets the Queen of England entrance. And what? Britt just walks in?
It's kind of crazy. And, now that you point that out, Alice, once I saw that, I was like, I figured Britt wasn't going to win here anyways, but it just even made it more apparent here. Then the match happened. The match ended. Mercedes is still your champion. Okay, so
and that's how we feel about that.
So I can't speak for my other
still stinks.
So I can't speak for my other constituents, and I will be the one to be in line of fire here. This is my least favorite match of the pay-per-view. I think it was everyone's least favorite here. I won't go as far as to say, to me, unless something changes, this is the worst women's match of 2024 for me. And that's saying a lot because I watch a lot of wrestling. This is up there for sure.
I will disagree. This wasn't the worst match on the card. It was slightly better than Jericho.
That's fair. Okay, worse is probably not the right. I was severely disappointed and let down by this match because I wanted more from them. And okay, so I gotta tread this carefully because the internet's gonna come and crucify me. Listen, I might be on here giving my wrestling opinions, but I am a big softie and the internet does not need to come for me. But there is such a 50-50 discourse of whose fault it is that this match was not great. 50% of the internet is blaming Mercedes. And I was like, okay, I could kind of see some points here. But what baffled me is the 50% of the internet saying that this is Britt's fault and going as far as saying that Britt was sandbagging here. She didn't want to be in this match. She doesn't put anyone over. Same argument that people have with Will Ospreay. I'm going to put it this way. I feel like both women are at fault here for different reasons. I feel like maybe this was a little too soon to put Britt back into this position because I feel like she still needs a little bit of rust to shake off after being gone for a year. And also, it's technically not her fault because what she went through was absolutely horrible. And what it can do to the human anatomy and the body, like who knows what complications that needed to be, looked at before Britt was able to come back and wrestle in the ring. So it probably shaped how she wrestles for a little bit now. On the flip side of this for me, Mercedes still is not where she is going, like where I thought she would be at this point being in AEW. And I said this to the boys before we started the review, and I'm going to say this here. So I apologize to those who love Mercedes Moné. I love her too, but it seems that this woman is resting on her 2 NXT takeover matches that she had with Bayley, and then her main event match with Bianca Belair at WrestleMania a couple years ago as well. This was not great on both sides. Adolfo, go for it.
Can I take it a step forward that not only is she resting it all on those NXT matches, but also her newfound Hollywood career?
Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah.
And I say this because I too am disappointed because I've seen video of Mercedes Moné in New Japan, and what she did there. And, dare I say she was very electrifying. I've seen old video of Britt Baker and how good she is, how good they can be. Where the disconnect is, I don't know. For me, wrestling wise, mat wise, this match was okay. There was a lot of empty gaps that just made it drag and made the okayness of the actual wrestling brought that down. If that makes any sense. I probably made no sense, and I'm sorry. But and yes, I don't know if it's the fact that we are holding these two up to a level that they're not at yet. Like you said, maybe it was too early to get this going. But if anything, for me, this match was a disappointment.
I agree with that. I will hold off on what I'm about to say now. I'm gonna let my other constituent speak. JVL, you seem contemplative in thought. What's racking around in the brain?
You brought up the whole thing of they're trying to put the blame on someone for terrible wrestling, whereas what I watched was a wrestler who got hot-shotted too quickly and forgot that she had been so curated in other places that now she has full control and she can't seem to find a footing, and therefore was trying harder than usual to get stuff over. And in Brit, you had a person going, this person has crippled and nearly retired almost 3 different wrestlers. I've also had that problem with a couple of other people in this company, and I'm just back from a major injury and a TIA, like a stroke, basically. And she wants to do all this other stuff with me and not give me anything into it. There was trepidation between both of them for different reasons, and that hurt the match because they didn't know how to be smooth with each other. They didn't trust each other at all. That's also from the backstage stuff as well. And there was no support for this match, as you could tell. Because of what happened with Britt getting kind of blackballed backstage, no one there was helping them with any camera shots. No one was helping them with anything ringside. It just wasn't put enough together that it shouldn't have been this high on the card. It shouldn't.
No, and I said this during when we covered Tony and Mariah. I feel like the pacing and just the energy of the show, again, Mariah and Tony would have a tough time following MJF and Will. But the fact that Tony and Mariah's feud is probably the hottest thing in AEW out both for both men and women's stories going on right now, I feel like the crowd would have been more invested in that had we switched the places. But I'm gonna tag in Alice here because we boys had a lot to say, but I want to hear from Alice, who is still relatively new to the world of AEW. But the fact that part of this feud, Britt was missing when she got suspended for a week or two. Alice, walk me through this. How did you feel about this match, where it was placed, what we saw on our screen? Like, just give me whatever is racking around in your mind.
This match was in the wrong place. Shouldn't have been here. It felt like a real bathroom break match. Like, I didn't feel like I had to sit here and watch it. It felt like there was sloppy wrestling from both women. I don't want to hold either of them 100% accountable for the performance in the ring. And I was so disappointed with Mercedes Moné in particular because she has the charisma. She has the acting chops. She's got the gimmick. It could be a great championship reign. But unfortunately, whenever she's in the ring, the stuff in the ring does not support all the other things she's got going for her. Right? She's not there, in my opinion. Britt Baker, I feel like she came back and they were like, people love her. And they shoved her in here. And they were trying to build up this feud. And then she was gone. And then she was back. There was not enough build up for a feud between these two people for this match to take place where it did. I would have moved this. I was overall disappointed in the match. I don't think it was the worst match of the evening, but this was not great. I was disappointed in the performance from both women.
Yeah, like I said, I think I want to change what I said about this being the worst match, but this was definitely the most disappointed I felt all night too, because I hold both women in high regards. And just for a variety of different reasons, not 100% blaming them. I don't think either one of them is solely to blame, but just a bunch of factors when we look at this feud from beginning to end. Both women, as JVL said, were trepidatious. The fact that part of this feud was one-sided when Britt got suspended for what happened backstage. And, just the history of Britt almost crippling and retiring, potentially retiring 3 other women's wrestlers too. And just all the things that came out, because I was just severely disappointed. I don't know what's next for either one of these women. I can't believe I'm saying this. I hope this is it. I don't want to see another rematch between the two. But honestly, that worries me, because then I'm like, who is going to come up to step to Mercedes next? And then where does Britt go after this? We can speculate all that in our theory show tomorrow, but I was disappointed for sure. Which did not help, because it took me a couple minutes to get out of that. Because then we also had this. Speaking of one-sidedness, did anyone else feel that this was more just a one-sided coffin match than I thought it was going to be? But the fact that this was your semi-main event, I was just like, why was this here? It was too short for me. This was a coffin match for the TNT Championship, or what I like to call, the New Japan dark title, I guess, if you will. Like House of Dark, like torture vibes with this title. Like, can I be honest, you guys? If Mercedes and Britt had a hard time building the feud, because Britt was missing for a week or two. This is the least put together feud, I feel like, for this whole entire card, because they did not even interact outside of blood and guts when we set up this match. And then Darby was fighting everybody else on Collision. Jack Perry got interrupted by Taco Bell during his promos at one point. Normally I like coffin matches. Last year's coffin match was actually fantastic. I completely forgot this was on the card until I was putting the slides in order, because I feel like this match did not live up to what it was. And for me personally, this was really one-sided, because Jack Perry was just throwing Darby all over the place. I'm like, what was this? This was not what I wanted. This was not great. And I love Sting, but even he couldn't save this for me. Yes, JVL.
This tells you how much I was invested in this match. I was so thrown by the British crowd singing Cry Me a River in the tune of Seven Nation Army when the glass came out, and not singing. The song is there. You could have sang the song, but no. I love Seven Nation. That's what threw me about this entire. Nothing else. That's what threw me. Darby wants to get in a bag full of tacks. Great. That's good for him. He gets his rocks up by getting stuck in a coffin that way. Like, seriously.
Yeah, this was a very short match. It was not very entertaining either, because it felt like Mike Hughes, we mentioned, felt very one-sided. We mostly spent the whole match talking about how much we thought the coffin was to buy and then beat up. Like, it was not.
Because that was a nice coffin.
It was.
It's a very nice coffin.
And how thoughtful of Jack to fix the pillows and stuff before shoving Darby in there.
Oh, God. And of course, it took Sting coming out for the gas part of this, not for anything else.
No, let's talk about that, man. Like, hold up. I want to bring this comment from Robert.
The other thing is
hilarious. Yes. Honestly, that would have been more entertaining than what we saw.
That should have happened. That
for
should
real.
But Jack Perry is not allowed to smile anymore.
No,
because
he's not.
Because every time he comes out and he smiles, Jungle Boy is right there.
Yeah.
The scapegoat is gone. So he's got to grimace or smirk, right? Smile with one side of his mouth. He cannot smile because he's Jungle Boy then. He's too soft.
Yeah, I think that's that pretty much covers this match, and then Sting comes out for sting purposes.
To look scary holding a bat. I mean, which he did.
Holding the bat. But yeah, that was, it felt, as far as coffin matches go, it felt very unfulfilling.
Yeah.
Like I said, Sting could not save this match for us. Alrighty. So we're going to move on. And honestly, to me, I was just like, even if Darby lost, if it was more than one-sided, I would have been like, okay. But the biggest problem I have that with this whole entire thing is the fact that Darby has a championship match for the AEW World Championship at Grand Slam. This match did him no favors to build him up as like, this is your number one contender for that championship come Grand Slam. And I'm just like, y'all need to do something really quickly because we got like 3 or 4 weeks until Grand Slam, until that match is happening. So Darby needs to start doing something and winning matches that are of importance, because otherwise this is wasting a number one contender. And then like Darby shouldn't have won the Royal Rampage, but I digress. It's not doing him any favors. So we go from a disappointing women's match to an underwhelming coffin match that honestly could have been on a Dynamite. No, not even. This was not even worth Dynamite's time. In fact, I will go as far as to say this was not even worth Rampage's time, which is crazy because Rampage is where all the crazy stuff happens. This did not need to be here. Coffin matches did not add anything. A regular street fight would have been fine, but like this was not it for me. So let's move on. We go from here. This was the semi-main event, by the way, which did not help because it took me a couple minutes to get over the taste of the last two matches that were in my mouth and just how disappointed and frustrated I was with this match. Because then we get into our main event, the final countdown, title versus career. We have Swerve Strickland defending his AEW World Championship against Bryan Danielson. I just want to start off by saying that this is what pulls me into second place for predictions. Thank you, Danielson, for actually winning. Me and Professor are the only two that picked Danielson to win. So I want to echo what Alice said earlier in the review. Like, we got a whole video package for Danielson, the whole arena singing the final countdown. We have this pomp and circumstance. And then Swerve just comes out with, the rappers that are on his song rapping him down the ring, which, by the way, they played the sped up version, which is a banger, by the way. I work out to that ever so often, and I bump it in my classroom. But I was mad for Swerve. I was like, this is how you going to treat your first African-American, like, AEW World Champion? He just walks down to his theme song while Danielson had the whole entire thing. I would have forgiven it had Danielson lost, but he did not, spoiler alert. So that was my gripe with this. The match itself, Swerve can no longer be a tweener or a face now. He literally stomped Bryan in front of his children. Like, that man is a full heel again. Like, come on now. You don't stomp someone's children and be called a tweener or a face. He is full heel now. The match itself, I thought, was a lot of fun. I was surprised by the ending. I thought it was good, but there could have been moments that made this great for me. And I don't know if that was a personal problem of the last two matches we witnessed leading into here. But I thought this match was good, but I felt like there was stuff missing for me. Though, let's be honest, Swerve is always fantastic. And I did like Bryan Danielson, Bryan getting a second win, but I feel like something was missing for me. And it's probably just a me thing and not, but I could be completely wrong. But everyone else, how do we feel about our main event?
Do you know, can you put a finger on what that thing that was missing was?
So I feel like it was more present in maybe like the last 5 minutes. And this is just a me thing. If it is a title versus a career match, not saying Danielson was like phoning it in a little bit, but I feel the entire match, Danielson should have treated the entire match, not the last like 5 to 7 minutes of it. Your title and your career is on the line. Shouldn't there be more of a sense of urgency in everything that you do in this match? Again, Danielson's probably not like them, but I feel like for these types of matches, you have to be head on the swivel, sense of urgency the whole entire way. And Danielson, I think, eventually got there, but it was like the last 5 to 7 minutes before he won. And of course, Hangers made his appearance in here, which also didn't help the situation because then Swerve got distracted, which allowed Danielson to get the win and the tap out, which is crazy because according to my WrestleFacts, this is the first time that Swerve has ever tapped in AEW, which is kind of a big deal. But yeah, but that's where I was at, Adolfo. I feel like there was a lack of urgency throughout the whole match, but we got it in the last 5 minutes, but I feel like it was too little too late. That's just me, though. I could be completely wrong.
No, I can definitely see that. Yes. No more in between or babyface Swerve. He is heel Swerve. Danielson. I enjoyed the no sells from Swerve. I enjoyed the heel machinations of Swerve, like when he told Nana to get the ring bell and he put it down and then dropped Danielson on the ring bell and then like tossed it real quick. That no sell when Danielson did his psycho knee thing and Swerve just kind of did that was hot. I love that.
Yeah, I got a little sweaty. It was good.
Yeah. I also enjoyed Swerve hitting all of those house calls, right? That's when the sidekick one, hitting all those house calls and and looking back and seeing Bryan Danielson like still functioning and like getting frustrated and more frustrated. This match really told a good story. Though I do agree again that it felt like Bryan Danielson was doing the Hulk Hogan thing, dare I say, where he was waiting till the very end to be like, and then boom, beat on Swerve and made him tap out. Which also the two things, number one, Swerve tapping out, I feel didn't get the gravitas that it needed or it should have gotten, especially seeing how this was the first time he has ever tapped out. And number two, I didn't feel like Hangman aggro page was really needed to come out. I thought that was like, I don't know. It was like that it was like the parsley that's on your dinner. Like it looks pretty, but why are you here? You know what I mean? And it
was like a garnish that he did not need to be here. Before I let JVL and Alice go, Robert brings up an interesting point.
Yeah, I was like, put his comment on the screen. Okay. I agree.
This is what he said. He's saying, I think Swerve need to stop hitting 10 house calls per title match. I could be wrong on the number, but y'all get the point. And I kind of agree because the house calls should be used sparingly for me. And I get, hitting like 10 of them, but I feel like Swerve does it every time he fights somebody in the title match. And it kind of like when he did it to Darby, like it only took 2 to knock out Darby. I was like, okay, that's a fair amount. And I get Danielson is like final boss level, but you gotta sparingly do the house calls.
Yeah, I felt like it was overdone, especially this match. I was like, again? Like what? It didn't work. You got to try something else. It was a little frustrating that he kept doing the house calls.
It was frustrating for me till I realized in like the 4th or 5th one, when he had turned a little bit, this is when Danielson was starting to like, to try to like get back up and like have those things. Swerve didn't take his eyes off Brie and Birdie. And Buddy, he was looking straight at them as he did each house call, and you could see in his eyes like, "You're making me do this." For me, I'm sitting there going, "Okay, how much therapy are those kids going to need from having to watch this, even knowing that this was fake?"
Oh, 100%.
Because I think of McFoley's kids, I think of like the same thing when they watch their dad go through the same thing.
100%.
And then you see Buddy just playing with the confetti afterwards, not even caring that his dad.
I saw this on social. It was so funny.
I loved it. It was so nice. But Robert, you're right. The house call has become, in the last 3 or 4 matches he's done, it's not even a setup move. It's his middle finger from Stone Cold to people, is that he just does that. It's ineffectual because he has to keep doing it. Pull it back, make it a bigger thing, do what you have to do with it. But I think in this instance, it worked once it turned into I'm not doing it because it's not working. I'm doing it because it's making his family upset, which hopefully could break him down.
I know. Oh, I mean, not necessarily related to this, but thank you, Robert. Thanks, brother. Promote y'all to other channels. I was like, yes, do so, please. I would like. In our little corner of WrestleDom, we want more people to come check out our stuff because we want to have conversations with you. Also, shout out to Robert. He subbed for us thanks to this conversation we're having, by the way. So shout out to you, Robert, for subbing to us. So thank you. But any final closing remarks, thoughts about anything else you want to talk about this main event?
I have a lot of really complicated feelings about this main event that I don't think we have the time to talk about.
We can talk about that tomorrow.
We can talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, I am really disappointed, actually, that Bryan Danielson won this. And I will talk about all of those feelings another time. But this match was, like you said, it was okay. It was good. But I felt like Swerve kind of carried the journey here to the match. And it did feel like there was a little bit left wanting for me. So,
yeah. So that brings us to the end of All In for us, so to speak. So let's get our ratings real quick before we do our final thing and look at the leaderboard for our predictions league. So I'm going to go first. Despite my criticisms about certain parts of this, I will say this is probably AEW's strongest pay-per-view this year because the 2024 has been kind of tough on AEW from good to great. This is my second favorite pay-per-view this year for AEW, in my opinion. But my number one favorite so far this year is still Dynasty is probably still my favorite one. But with everything being said, there were some highlights, there were some lowlights. We've talked about it. I'm going to give All In a 7 out of 10 for me. I think this was still a pretty strong show. Just some decisions in where we placed matches and just the outcomes of certain things also was kind of weird for me. I still thought this was a fun show, but not necessarily like one I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, every match was a banger. There was some bangers, but there was also some problem stuff that I had. So 7 out of 10 for me for All In. So 7 out of 10 empanadas. Who wants to go next?
7 out of 10 empanadas. Next.
6 out of 10 empanadas.
Facts. And then JVL?
7 out of 10. Better than average.
Pretty average show. Yes.
Can I just do a lightning yes or no question?
Oh God, yes, go for it.
And I'm just pulling this from the internet because I saw someone on the internet posted this, that this All In was better than WrestleMania 40. Yes or no, Mikey?
That's an excellent question. No.
Okay. Yes or no, JVL?
Night 1 or night 2?
I was like, hold up. Actually, that's a good question because that might change my answer.
Let's put it against the strongest of the nights.
Night 2 would probably be the strongest. Actually, no. I think night 1 actually ended up being the strongest.
It did.
Yeah, so night 1.
Against night 1, yeah, it was better than night 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Alice, do you want to comment, or do you want?
We didn't watch WrestleMania 40, so
okay, yeah.
I abstain.
So we abstain.
That's fantastic.
Doing my homework for me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, so before we get into our prediction records, Robert, with the final question, he says he does like Dynasty too, but I got a question for y'all. Do you think Willow Nightingale should turn heel?
Yes.
That is a big conversation going on right now.
Yes, Robert for the win.
Yes.
So I'm going to keep it short because we can spend a whole podcast episode. I think eventually a heel Willow Nightingale would be fun, but because she is so over with the crowd and little kids, I think that's not going to happen for a very long time. And if she is going to turn heel, you need to find someone as sugary sweet, if not more than Willow, in order for me to make her a believable heel. So right now, AEW doesn't have that other sugary sweet face right now. Now, if you build her up correctly, I don't want her to be here, but if you want to put Willow in ROH, like Rachel Ellering could be that next sugary sweet personality if you build her up right. But right now, there's nobody else like Willow on the how sweetness it is. So yes, but not until you get the right person. Cool. Sweet. Alrighty, let's get into predictions. So I want to say this, Alice, I did not put you on the card because I forgot to have a conversation with you because this was your first official predictions form
That's
that you
correct.
did with us. And we've been doing this since Dynasty back in April.
Oh.
So I'll have a conversation with you and we can figure something out that if you beat us in predictions lead, you can give bonus points to your husbando over here and be the buffer.
I told him, I said my next goal was to get no matches correct because I only got one correct.
When it comes to this, we are our own peoples. So
I'm just saying,
cohabitate.
While we're trying to win to not wear the onesie, Alice is like, let me see if I can get none correct.
I was like, I'll take the onesie, dang, I don't care. Can I get 0?
That would be fun. So let's take a look at the scoreboard now. So this is where we currently are sitting at. Darn, it's kind of a little bit small, but that is okay. So I do have the results also on hand as well. So that is fantastic. So this is where everyone stands at the end of, All In and combining it with Dynasty and Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door and all this. This is where we stand. In last place, but not by much, is JBL, who got 4-5 for All In and has an overall record of 21-12. So I'm like,
Professor's going on about wearing a onesie. I'm going to be the one wearing it at this point
for AEW, and we still have a couple pay-per-views to go. So who knows what happens? Tied in second place is Adolfo and the Professor but their scores are relatively different. It's really weird. So Adolfo ended All In with 4-5. Professor ended with 6-3, making him the winner because he had the best record.
He had a bad one last time. He had a bad show.
Forbidden Door hosed him really badly last time. But overall, both of you, Adolfo and Professor, tied in second with a record of 22-11. And then in first place, my all-in record is 5-4, but my overall record is 24-9. So I am currently leading the pack right now in this predictions league for AEW. Which I'm gonna be honest, I was in last place when we started this, and Forbidden Door is what pulled me into first place because I only got one match wrong of the whole entire card because I did not predict that Jericho would actually lose to Hook, Shibata, and Joe during that whole entire match. So I am currently in first. JVO is sitting at last. Adolfo and Professor are sitting in second. But in 2 weeks, we have All Out. So who knows what that's going to look like. But, that was a lot of fun, everybody. This was a fun 2-hour discussion for All In. We'll literally be back here with another AEW pay-per-view in 2 weeks when we talk about All Out happening in Chicago. There will be a watch-along in 2 weeks for All Out since it is one of their big 4 tentpole pay-per-views. So I'm excited about that. But fear not, we have a whole plethora of programming this week. Tomorrow, we are here for our All Elite Ensemble review. But instead of reviewing the shows, now that All In is over, and I have to give credit to Adolfo for coming up with this idea, we're going to take a look back of did everything hit the way it was supposed to, and where are we going with all these stories and championships tomorrow night? So this is going to be it's like a podcasty type of episode. It's going to be great. And then on Wednesday, CMLL, the Los Lobos de la Lucha crew, will be reviewing the tournament, the international tournament that happened, Team Mexico versus Team International. It's going to be fantastic. The Grand Prix is fantastic.
So
Thursday,
great.
you can catch me and Andrew on his semifinal review as we will be going over both nights of GCW Homecoming and their up all night show that happened in between the two. So that's going to be a really fun show. And then to round out the week on Friday, we will be doing our regular ROH and TNA reviews, leading into a plethora of pay-per-views with Bash in Berlin, Emergence, and No Mercy coming up shortly. So busy week for all of us here at BC WrestlePod. But that is going to be it for us here at Grapple Gurus. Thank you so much for giving us your time, your energy. Shout out to everyone in the comments that commented, especially our new homie, Robert. Trust me, we are pretty much live every day. So if you want to stop by, just say hi to us. It's going to be a fantastic one. But from all of us here, and for all of us here and the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, but more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you tomorrow for the All Elite Ensemble review. But until then, sayonara, adios, and Billy Stark's outro.
Let's Stark's outro.
Bleh.